Okay, it's recording now.
Going. Okay, so this is my presentation about sunglass sales. And the first thing I need to tell you is what the data is about. There's a brand of sunglasses called Dirty Cat, and this data is about the New Zealand situation for their sales from spring 2005 to summer in 2010. And it was done every 3 months, so it's quarterly data, and it was done in thousands of dollars. And the whole reason for doing this is that I might like to predict the sales for future years. And why I would do that is I might be interested in perhaps being a sales rep and going around and making sure that the shops have enough stock to sell. So that's the reason that you want to do it. And it's really important to know this because you need to know that you're not going to run out of sunglasses or that the shops are going to be overstocked. So because I feel like peak sales will be in December and January, because that's Christmas time for gifts and also the peak of summer, I'm going to predict what the sales will be in December and January for the years of 2011 and 2012. So my question is, what value of expected sunglass sales do we predict for summer 2011 and summer 2012? So this is my graph of recomposed data. But what I want to talk about is the black is the actual sales. And just as I expected, you can see the pattern, the seasonal pattern, that summers are the highest. And the trend, you can see it's tracking up, slows down, and tracks back up again. And I'll talk about this a little bit later. Okay, so the trend went from 27,000 up to 35,500. So the trend just gradually increased, but it did have a level patch. And it took 4 years to do that. It was actually 21 quarters. So the increase was about $21,000 per year. Sales growth from the first quarter of 2008 to mid-2009 became almost zero. Then it picked up again. And I actually looked up some other data, and I saw that lots and lots of consumables showed a slowdown, and it was an effect of the recession in New Zealand. And I'll just quickly show you the graph that I was looking at is retail sales of all sorts of accessories, clothing and footwear, and its plateau matches exactly what happened in sunglass sales. So I'll just go back to the one that I was at before. And when I looked at it, the trend accounts for about half of the variation in the data. And also, I was really quite concerned when I looked at the trend because there was this unusual figure here. So, the trend is sort of slowly going upwards because the trend relies on the previous data. But this bit here is something that I'll keep referring back to because it's unusual. So, seasonality. The strong seasonality from $6,000 on average above the trend to about $4,000 below the trend. And this happens every year, and in the summer seasons it is the highest. I thought that winter would be, this is the winter quarter here, I thought that winter would be nearly as high as summer, but there wasn't a huge effect. But the summer sort of, takes account for most of the increased sales. Yeah, that's really all I've got to say about that.
Can I just ask a question? So what season or what period of time was the seasonality at its lowest?
It was lowest in autumn. So this is winter. Oh, sorry, it was lowest in spring. Lowest in spring. Autumn, winter, spring, summer. Yeah. And that pattern was there all the time, and I couldn't really find any good reason for that. Right, so this now is moving on to the prediction for the future. And I can say that I predict that for the summer of 2011, I would expect there to be about $40,000 worth of sunglass sales, and for the summer of 2012, I expect 41,000, about 41,000. And the prediction intervals are actually, I feel, quite wide. Like, I think that this one here is sort of ridiculously wide, and that's because just earlier, just before the forecasts were made, there was quite a bit of variation away between the model and the actual data. So, looking at it, I didn't feel terribly confident in my prediction. So this is pretty much what I've said. I can't be completely certain, but do expect sunglass sales to be in that given range. I appreciate that it's a bootstrapping method, so if I did another prediction, the results would be slightly different, but pretty similar. And as you move further away from the data that you know, the prediction interval does get wider. Yep. So, if I'm talking about my decomposed graph, which is the one that you've got a copy of, in Q4 of 2005, Q1 and 2, 2006, the model is not a good fit. Okay, so Q4 of 2005, so it becomes it's not such a good fit in here, and it's a really bad fit in here. And that is shown by the pattern in the residuals as well. In the middle patch, from mid-2006 all the way through to mid-2009, I feel that the model does fairly well fit the actual data. But yeah, at the beginning and the end of the time that we looked at, it doesn't fit terribly well.
1 minute.
Yep.
1 minute to go.
Okay. And this one here gives me grave cause for concern because I just wonder what on earth happened. I'm thinking something happened to sunglass sales there. Maybe it was a terrible summer, or maybe some better brand came along and they dipped a lot of their sales. So. Yeah, I found out that the whole retail sector had a slowdown in summer 2010, and I'm not sure why that was, but that's what I found out. So, yeah, validity, I talked a little bit about how I felt about that last data point. And finally, conclusion. I've gained a prediction interval, and there's a couple of things in there. Our economies continue to grow, so have population and tourist numbers. So I would say people should be optimistic if they're relying on my data. They should probably not consider the bottom end of the prediction interval, because the economy now is a lot better, and yeah, everything seems to be doing a lot better. There's also more people in New Zealand, so I think I would be quite optimistic about the sales, but it's a very wide prediction interval, so you do have to be careful with this. Any questions?
Okay, if I just go back to the very, very beginning, when you looked at your purpose there, so your purpose was to find out about information for retail sales and stuff. Now, was that talking about retail sales in general, or was that specifically talking about the Dirty Cat sunglasses?
Definitely the Dirty Cat sunglasses, because I'd be wanting to, this is Dirty Cat data, so I'd want to use that to perhaps tell my sales manager, how many pairs of sunglasses he should be sending out to the shops.
Okay, and what would you recommend in terms of that yearly pattern? When should he be stockpiling sunglasses versus when there are less sunglasses required?
Well, he should be stocking up the stores in spring, because the absolute highest season is the summer. And I was thinking too about advertising. Advertising would be good if it cut in its spring as well, because summer is when the sunglasses are selling.
Great. Thank you. That's all from me. Any questions from you, sir? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
9 minutes and 41 seconds.